OUL, Montreal, Dar.
OUL finished with photography at Hudson. I have another one on the shoreline of Leary, just by Chateauguay.
Separation of aircraft constituting airdrome traffic is achieved by airdrome controllers situated in an airdrome control tower from which, depending on the meteorological conditions, they maintain a continuous watch and control over traffic on the ground and in the vicinity of an airdrome. Airdrome traffic comprises traffic on the maneuvering area of an airdrome, including vehicles and personnel, and all aircraft flying in the vicinity of an airdrome. By proper sequencing and adequate separation of airdrome traffic, air traffic control is able to achieve the safe, orderly, and expeditious flow of air traffic, which is the main objective of the Air Traffic Control Service. Before dealing with the application of separation of airdrome traffic, let us examine the various elements of an airdrome and the airdrome traffic circuit. An airdrome is a defined area on land or water, including any buildings, installations, and equipment intended to be used either wholly or in part for the arrival, departure, and movement of aircraft. The maneuvering area is that part of an airdrome to be used for the taking off and landing of aircraft, and for aircraft movement associated with taking off and landing, excluding aprons. Taxiways connect the apron with the runway and have holding positions marked on them at appropriate places. The runway is a defined rectangular area on a land airdrome prepared for the landing and takeoff run of aircraft along its length. The airdrome traffic circuit is usually a rectangular flight path around an airdrome consisting of an upwind leg, a crosswind leg, a downwind leg, a base leg, and final. All turns from one leg to another are made to the left unless otherwise prescribed or instructed. Airdrome controllers shall issue information and clearances to aircraft under their control with the object of preventing collisions between aircraft flying in the airdrome traffic circuit around an airdrome, aircraft taking off, and landing, aircraft operating on the maneuvering area, aircraft and other airdrome traffic operating on the maneuvering area, aircraft and obstructions on the maneuvering area. It will be seen that in order to provide separation of airdrome traffic, the airdrome controller must maintain a continuous watch on all airdrome traffic, both in the traffic circuit and on the maneuvering area of the airdrome. Remember, this includes vehicles and personnel, particularly on the taxiway areas. To facilitate departures of jet aircraft and to minimize unnecessary ground running of jet engines, the pilot may advise the airdrome controller when ready to start engines. The aerodrome controller will then advise the pilot in command to proceed or to hold if there is any significant delay. Aircraft, before leaving the apron, must obtain clearance to taxi onto the maneuvering area. It is most important that the aerodrome controller's clearance be concise and unambiguous when defining a taxi route. If there are obstructions along the route, appropriate information must be given. Departures shall normally be cleared in the order in which they are ready for takeoff, except that deviation from that order may be made to facilitate the maximum number of departures with the least average delay. The aerodrome controller may effect separation between taxiing and landing aircraft, or in certain circumstances, aircraft taking off, by holding the taxiing aircraft in holding bays or at specified holding positions. If all aircraft are following the same route, it may be preferable to clear several jet aircraft for takeoff before a slower piston-engined or small aircraft. The jet aircraft climb rapidly and soon clear the lower levels. Separation of departing aircraft is normally effected by not permitting an aircraft to take off until the preceding departing aircraft has crossed the opposite end of the runway or has started a turn, whichever comes first. And until all preceding landing aircraft are clear of the runway. Takeoff clearance may be issued to an aircraft when there is reasonable assurance that one of these separations will exist when the aircraft commences takeoff. An aircraft taking off may continue in the direction of takeoff or may follow the circuit pattern until reaching a point at which it will leave the circuit and take up its intended route. How does the aerodrome controller sequence his traffic? How does he decide who shall be first to land? Which aircraft should use the runway first, the arriving or departing aircraft? The controller provides separation based on relative positions of aircraft in time and space. For instance, he ensures adequate spacing as aircraft report on the downwind leg. He informs the pilot in command of his number in the landing sequence by a clearance, such as continue approach, number 3 to land, follow the DC-8 turning onto base leg. The pilot in command positions the aircraft in accordance with the instructions contained in the clearance and adjusts his speed or his circuit to ensure the proper spacing. If it becomes obvious to the aerodrome controller that the correct spacing is not being achieved, he may instruct an aircraft to make short approach or make long approach when on the downwind leg. Instructions such as these are issued to ensure that aircraft arrive at the beginning of the runway with not less than a minimum separation. If traffic conditions permit, an aircraft may be cleared for a straight-in approach. The aerodrome controller determines the landing sequence from the relative position of the aircraft in the traffic circuit. An aircraft landing, or in the final stages of an approach to land, shall normally have priority over an aircraft intending to take off. However, An aerodrome controller must judge the position of an arriving aircraft and determine whether he can clear a departing aircraft for takeoff without infringing the aerodrome separation minimum. An aircraft shall not normally be permitted to cross the beginning of the runway on its final approach until the preceding departing aircraft has crossed the opposite end of the runway or has started a turn, or until all preceding aircraft are clear of the runway. An aircraft may be cleared to land where there is reasonable assurance that separation will exist when the aircraft crosses the runway threshold, but a clearance to land shall not be issued until a preceding landing aircraft has crossed the runway threshold. Lower separation than these, and the minima specified for takeoff, may be prescribed by the appropriate ATS authority after consultation with operators, taking into account such factors as runway length, aerodrome layout, and type of aircraft involved. The separation minima dealt with so far are designed to provide safe spacing of aircraft to prevent collisions. However, the aerodrome controller must also, when necessary, consider wake turbulence, and especially when a light aircraft is following a heavy jet aircraft, apply a greater separation. In conditions of little or no wind, wake turbulence has been known to persist for several minutes. Aircraft forming part of the aerodrome traffic shall be controlled to provide the separation minima outlined, except that aircraft in formation are exempted from the separation minima with respect to separation from other aircraft of the same flight. Aircraft operating in different areas or lanes on aerodromes equipped with runways suitable for simultaneous landings or takeoffs are exempted from the separation minima. Should an aircraft enter a traffic circuit without proper authorization, in case of radio communication failure, for instance, it shall be permitted to land if its actions indicate that it so desires. If circumstances warrant, a controller may ask an aircraft with which he is in contact to give way. This will remove the hazard introduced by such a situation as quickly as possible. In such a case, controllers should recognize the possibilities of emergency action and render all assistance possible. Priority in the landing sequence may be given to an aircraft in a case of emergency, such as an aircraft being compelled to land because of factors affecting its safe operation, or a hospital aircraft, or aircraft carrying sick or seriously injured persons requiring urgent medical attention. Pilots of aircraft play an important role in the separation of aerodrome traffic. By conforming with the pattern of traffic formed by other aircraft, and if unable to conform, by avoiding such a pattern. By making all turns to the left when approaching for a landing or after taking off, unless otherwise prescribed or instructed. By landing or taking off into the wind, unless safety, the runway configuration, or air traffic considerations determine that a different direction is preferable. Let us again briefly examine separation of aircraft forming aerodrome traffic. Firstly, on the maneuvering area. On taxiways, aircraft may be kept at holding positions or in holding bays. On takeoff, an aircraft may be permitted to commence takeoff when the preceding aircraft has crossed the end of the runway or has started a turn, or when all preceding landing aircraft are clear of the runway. On landing, an aircraft may be permitted to cross the beginning of the runway when the preceding departing aircraft has crossed the end of the runway or has started a turn, or when all preceding landing aircraft are clear of the runway. Secondly, in the traffic circuit, an aircraft may be cleared to enter the traffic circuit at a specific point, such as downwind leg, or base leg, or on final. An aircraft may also be cleared to enter the traffic circuit at a specific altitude or be instructed to follow a specific aircraft. From the control tower, controllers keep a constant vigil, exchanging communications with pilots who work together with the controllers to carry on a safe and efficient operation. Every aircraft on the maneuvering area, whether taxiing, landing, or taking off, and every aircraft in the vicinity of the airdrome is under the guidance of airdrome controllers. The airdrome controllers must, therefore, exercise constant watchfulness and sound judgment to enable them to achieve safe and efficient separation of airdrome traffic at all times.